Hello, I'm Jake Boudreau, civic journalist at Tello Community Television. This week, on The Record, we attended 3 funding announcements made by Breton-Canso MP Mike Kelloway. The first took place on July 16th at 11 a.m. at the Alan J. McCacken Regional Airport in Port Hastings. At this announcement, Kelloway announced non-repayable funding of $2.2 million through the Canada Coal Transition Initiative Infrastructure Fund to the town of Port Hawkesbury for upgrades to the airport's runway. According to the federal government, the project will support the removal and replacement of the middle section of the runway to meet Transport Canada's new standards and to accommodate increased air traffic. The Alan J. McCacken Airport, which has been running since 1974, is currently operated by Celtic Air Services. Owned by the town of Port Hawkesbury, elected representatives from the town of Port Hawkesbury, the municipality of the county of Inverness, and the municipality of the county of Richmond make up the Airport Advisory Committee, which provides oversight for the airport's operations. Brenda Chisholm-Beaton, Mayor of Port Hawkesbury, said the airport provides a vital transportation link for the Strait region.
I grew up here in Inverness County and actually learned to fly right here. The airport wasn't quite this busy back then in 1999. It's really nice to be with you today to celebrate good news for the Alan J. McCacken Airport. So this is timely news, with advances in new clean energy and our high-value tourism industry opportunities that are in the area that you can see all around you today, quite literally. Let's begin by recognizing the significant contributions of the Indigenous people and the importance of working together towards reconciliation. We're grateful to be joining you today in Port Hastings and beautiful Unama'ki as guests in the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We acknowledge the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognize that we are all treaty people. Thank you for that. So we're here to talk about good things happening in Cape Breton. And we've seen great growth in our region since my days of learning to fly single-engine training planes here at CYPD. We couldn't be more excited about the green energy projects, luxury tourism developments, and the stability that these projects bring to northern Nova Scotia, and the fact that my children probably won't have to go away to work. So now, let us get to the reason we're all here today. I'm pleased to welcome Mike Kelloway to the airport this morning. As the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans and the Canadian Coast Guard, and Member of Parliament for Cape Breton-Canso, Mike is known as a strong supporter of economic development in the region. He understands the unique conditions of advancing industry and tourism developments in a largely rural region. He is willing to listen, connect, and act on those issues to bring about solutions and positive change, and has always been a strong supporter here of our airport since the very first days. Please join me in welcoming Parliamentary Secretary Kelloway.
Thanks, David. I really appreciate that. And what is more Nova Scotian than a deck party? I think we're just missing a few refreshments, but it's really great to be here, David, and it's a pleasure to be here at Alan J. McCacken Airport. And I want to say a couple of things before I get into my official remarks. The announcement that we're making today, and that I'll mention in a few seconds, is a result of some key partnerships. That's partnerships with David and his company, the town of Port Hawkesbury, and the municipalities that are represented here today, Inverness and Richmond. And I would put Guysborough in the mix, and I would put Victoria in the mix. It is really about furthering and deepening our approach and our commitment to development, capital D. And then there's a lot of branches that come from that development with respect to economic development, social development. And one of those is tourism, but the other one is opportunities in green energy. And what we're seeing in this part of the world is not just, cause for optimism and hope, It's cause for hope and optimism and action. We're going to get a lot of this done, and the airport is a key piece to the puzzle. And we know that sectors and industries writ large, not just green energy, are looking at the Strait area. They're looking at the Strait area to set up shop, to look at the workforce, to focus on future development, and actually soon to be, I hope, more immediate development. And again, it's about collaboration. So I don't want to mention names, because if I do, I'll get a call tonight saying, Kelloway, you forgot Leonard. I don't know if there's a Leonard here. That's my point. But each and every one of you are leaders in your own right, and I appreciate it very much, and it goes a long way with me. But today we're here to share some good news, and it's good news on behalf of my colleague, the Honourable Goody Hutchins, Minister of Rural and Economic Development and Minister responsible for ACOA. I'm pleased to announce that the Government of Canada, through the Atlantic Canada Opportunity Agency, is providing a non-repayable contribution of $2.2 million to the town of Port Hawkesbury for improvements at this very airport. Now, this funding will help upgrade the airport's runway to support the region's green hydrogen industry that I just mentioned, and the potential for onshore and offshore wind industry. It'll also ensure the capacity necessary to diversify the economy through the growth of a niche, high-value tourism opportunity. I think we saw a bit of an example or two of people walking in real time, ready to go golfing. To go back to the upgrades, these upgrades, along with several other significant industry developments underway in the Strait, will support the commercial and industry activity in the Strait, as I mentioned, and that is really important. Also, too, I think it's important to mention the EHS light flight aircraft and the medical transports in the winter months, and this is actually going to help actually facilitate more fluid responses as a result of a modern day tarmac, and among other things. I want to just quickly talk a little bit about why this is important, and we highlighted it in terms of the economics. But I want everyone to just realize for a second, and for those that will be listening to this newscast on CBC or reading about it, a lot of times in Canada, we think, and I'm a rural Canadian, that big things can't happen in rural areas. But if you look at the Strait area, if you look at Inverness County, if you look at Richmond County, if you look at the town of Port Hawkesbury, if you look at the First Nations communities in our riding, if you look at Antigonish County, and Victoria County, big things are happening in rural communities. So you need a couple of things. You need to support people. So that's investments in people, and that's investments in infrastructure. And that's what we're doing here today. I want to say a couple of words about the province and Minister Masters here today. A lot of what we do is in collaboration. And I firmly believe this, and I think anyone who knows me knows that I believe this, is that I don't care if you're blue, dark blue, orange, red, whatever. I don't care. I care about your commitment to the region. I care that you roll up your sleeves. And I'm surrounded by people on the municipal level, on the provincial level, people like Alan and others, private sector folks like David and Kyle and Jason, that get the importance of rolling up your sleeves to find out how do we make progress happen. And when we're swinging in the right direction, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're going to disagree. But ultimately, the core value is this island, is this region. It's northeastern Nova Scotia. It's this province. So this announcement, as much as it is me making it, is the result of hard work by everyone on this deck. And I can't think of a fitting way to look at you folks on this deck to say thank you for everything that you do. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank ACOA. ACOA, since I have been in my early 20s, working in a variety of capacities, whether it is in the Nova Scotia Community College or Cape Breton University or helping not-for-profits, ACOA has always been there. ACOA has always been there for the development of this region. So to Chuck and the team, I want to say thank you for all your efforts. You truly get economic development in this region. We're blessed to have you. So with that, I want to say congratulations, and here's to the Strait area, and here to this airport and to Celtic Air. Well done.
for your remarks and for demonstrating the government's understanding of and appreciation for project development in our province. I didn't know you were a roadie too, but now I would like to introduce somebody who probably needs no introduction here either. The Honourable Alan McMaster, Deputy Premier, Minister of Finance and Treasury Board, Labour Relations, Gaelic Affairs, as well as Communities, Culture, Tourism, Heritage. It's no wonder they have to print this out for me. Among other responsibilities, Minister McMaster also serves as the MLA for Inverness. First elected in a by-election in 2009, Alan is a lifelong resident of the county. He has a business background and has long used his platform to advance issues and causes close to the hearts of the people he represents. Please join me in welcoming Minister McMaster.
Well, thank you, Dave, and welcome everybody here today. I want to thank Mike Kelloway and the federal government for this contribution to what's a very important asset in our area. And I also want to acknowledge we have a number of municipal representatives with us today, and I want to acknowledge you as well, because I know this airport is something you think about and talk about too. I think at one time there was a plane, Dave, you can correct me, there was a heavy plane that came in a hot summer day and caused some deterioration to the airstrip. And so these improvements are going to improve safety. And when you think about what's happening here, these planes are getting bigger all the time. And I was talking to Kyle a moment ago, and they have a fuel truck here now that can pump the jet fuel more quickly onto the aircraft. These are little developments that are making this airport more sustainable and more effective and bringing more people in. And it's not just golfers. There's a lot of golfers coming in, and we know that those dollars land into our local economy here. But more and more all the time, the client base is diversifying, I understand, and there's other people coming into the area, whether they're with companies locally, companies that are looking at expanding, and so on. It would cost a fortune to build this airport today. Let's take care of it. And thank you, Mike Kelloway and the federal government, for doing that, for taking care of the asset we have and investing here in this airstrip. I want to close by thanking, there's many people here today that are in attendance that are always working on these projects and on the broader economic development in the area. And I want to thank you for all the work you're doing, because we're seeing the success that it's translating in. Well done.
And thank you, Minister McMaster. To share more about what the funding means for the town of Port Hawkesbury and the surrounding area, it's my pleasure to introduce Terry Doyle, the Chief Administrative Officer of the town of Port Hawkesbury. He's been a tireless ally in advocating for the airport improvements to meet our increased demands, and a believer in the potential of the industry and clean energy projects in our region. And he was at the very first meeting that I had with the town, and was one of the first votes of confidence in my little company setting up back here in Cape Breton and moving my family home. And please join me in welcoming Terry Doyle.
Thank you very much. I'm standing in today. Just starting out, just sitting in there, standing in there, looking out on the airfield. In the 1970s, the early 1970s, Dave talks about 1998, but I talk about the 70s. I'm as old as dirt. But in the 1970s, the Strait region was booming. We had pulp and paper, we had heavy water, we had oil refineries, we had gypsum being shipped offshore all over the world. We were booming. Families were moving home. Families were growing and sending their kids to school and university. And it was a tremendous time for this region. At that time, our Deputy Prime Minister, Alan J. McCacken, had the foresight to create a small airstrip east of the Canso Causeway, because he saw the potential to that air travel was needed, that connection was needed for this area. Unfortunately, maybe fortunately, the asphalt that went down in the early 70s is still the asphalt that we're flying off of now. So it is time for this improvement. If this had not happened, we would not be able to sustain this operation, and it's extremely, extremely important to us. So on behalf of Mayor Brenda Chisholm Beaton, Deputy Mayor McIver, Councillor McDougall, Councillor O'Coin and Macquarie are with us today. I'd like to thank you, and also on behalf of our advisory committee. So we have the pleasure of working for many, many years with Inverness and Richmond counties. So we have a very active advisory committee. And from the committee, we have Warden McIsaac with us, Warden Mumbriket is with us, as well as we have other members of council from Inverness, which is wonderful to see. Claude, it's great to see you, and Councillor Gillis. So it's really a pleasure to see such a large crowd celebrating a very, very important announcement for this region and the economic specifically the economic development and sustainability for our region. So on behalf of the town, the advisory committee, sincerest appreciation for our Member of Parliament, Mike Kelloway. He works tirelessly with us on many, many issues, but really drove this forward into today, and we're very, very fortunate for that. Minister McMaster is someone we're appreciative of every day. He makes so much of an impact on especially with Inverness and Port Hawkesbury, the whole region, the whole province, and we are eternally grateful for all the support that we get from him on an ongoing basis. Just last but not least, we talked about this a little bit, for every successful application or funding announcement, there's hundreds of hours of staff time. So I do have to recognize our CFO and the administrator for the airport committee, Aaron McCacken. Gordy Snook is here with us, General Manager of Facilities, and Jason McMillan, our Manager of Engineering, Coordinator of Water Resource Management for Landry Lake, and he's probably got a couple of more titles there. He's one of the busiest guys in the region. So yeah, and so thank you for that. Also, of course, ACOA. So Karen Malcolm, our local ACOA representative, does just phenomenal work, and most people just see the end results of it, but again, hundreds of hours. And Joe Cashin and Stephen Lane and Natasha is here with us today too, so very, very appreciative. So thank you very much, pleasure to be here, and have a great, great day. I just can't believe all the aircraft out here, it's just phenomenal.
All right, so thank you, Terry. We certainly appreciate getting an understanding of how all this works. I'm sure for those in the crowd that don't know, there's a lot of people that come together to make this place what it is, what it's becoming, and it's going to take even more of you to push it forward to the next level. So we certainly appreciate everybody for coming out today.
The money is going to the town of Port Hawkesbury. Maybe you can explain that, because there's a regional committee of Inverness and Richmond County municipalities that also kind of govern or oversee the airport.
Yeah.
But the money's going to the town, so maybe you might want to just explain
Yeah, and
that
I think
a little bit.
that's a real logistical thing in terms of the money going to the proponent that owns the asset. But make no mistake about it, the counties share the asset, and so the counties have and the First Nations communities have a lot to say in terms of how do we grow this particular airport, and that's what this announcement about is today. It's about how do we grow, and it's providing the infrastructure. But the monies will go from ACOA to the town of Port Hawkesbury, and they'll work closely with people like Celtic Air and the municipalities. But the money itself needs a particular home, and that home will be the town of Port Hawkesbury. But how we maximize that resource will be a completely community effort in terms of the municipalities, First Nations communities, and the private sector.
The second funding announcement made by Kelloway took place on July 16th at 2:30 p.m. in Ayrshire. At this announcement, Kelloway announced funding of $27,750 for 2 community-based projects in Richmond County. The Arishak Community Development Association is constructing an accessible walking track to promote regular physical activities that create a safe environment for exercise and social interaction. The Richmond River Roots Market Garden Society was approved for funding so that members can take part in memory cafe events that promote social inclusion for seniors with dementia to reduce their social isolation. This funding was awarded through the most recent call for proposals for community-based projects through the New Horizons for Seniors program. Seamus O'Regan Jr., Minister of Labour and Seniors, said loneliness is an awful thing and too many seniors feel lonely. He said seniors want to be active and feel like they're part of the community, giving back, helping out, looking after themselves.
Thank you for joining me today. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that we're in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of Canada's Minister of Labour and Seniors, Seamus O'Regan. Today, I have the pleasure of delivering great news for seniors in Richmond County. The Government of Canada values the contribution that seniors have made and continue to make in our communities. And as you know, seniors are, and I've said this from time and time again, seniors in my riding, our riding of Cape Breton-Canso and across Canada are the backbone of our society. But it's also one of the most fastest growing populations in Canada. They will represent about 25% of the population by 2051. This means we have to have a plan for the future. We need to be ready to support an aging population, which could reach close to 11 million people within 15 years, and we need to have the right set of programs in place right now. And folks, the New Horizon for Seniors is that program. For the last 15 years, we've funded over 40,000 projects across Canada. And in Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia, Cape Breton-Canso, the riding of Cape Breton-Canso, we are amazing. We have amazing groups that are represented behind me today. We have groups that put forward solid proposals designed to help the people of Cape Breton-Canso, and in particular the seniors of Cape Breton-Canso. I guess what I'm trying to say is that our riding gets a lot of money for seniors and programming, and that all has to do with you, the groups out there working on behalf of seniors and seniors themselves. So today, as your Member of Parliament and on behalf of the Government of Canada, it gives me great pleasure to announce $27,750 in funding through the New Horizons for Seniors program, community-based stream, to help to support 2 groups. The Arishak Community Development Association, cue the applause behind me, and the Richmond River Roots Market Garden Society projects here in Richmond County. Now you're probably asking, Mike, what will this funding do? Well, the Arishak Community Development Association will create and develop an accessible walking track for regular physical activities that will allow seniors a safe environment for exercise and socializing. And the Richmond Roots Market Garden Society will allow its members to take part in a memory cafe events that will promote the inclusion of seniors with dementia and reduce social isolation. I want to say that this riding, I've always said it day one, everything starts with community. And I've said this also, that big things can happen in rural Canada. Well, big things are happening in rural Canada, and they're happening in Cape Breton-Canso. Today we make these announcements in Richmond County. We'll be making more announcements for seniors in Inverness County. We just made numerous announcements for seniors in the CBRM, and it's thanks to you. And again, being cynical is easy in today's world, but what's harder is working with people like you see on either side of me, and putting our heads together and putting our shoulders together and doing the hard work to help our communities. You do that every day.
The third funding announcement made by Cape Breton-Canso MP Mike Kelloway took place on July 17th at 10 a.m. at Centre La Picasse in Petit de Gras. At the announcement, Kelloway confirmed that La Picasse will receive $118,125 per year. Rachel Hood, president of La Picasse Cultural Community Centre, called it a significant contribution to the local Acadian community, noting that gathering places like La Picasse offer residents welcoming places to socialize and offers a wide range of French programs. The funding was made through the community life component of the Development of Official Language Communities program. Randy Boissonneau, Minister of Employment, Workforce Development, and Official Languages, said the funding gives La Picasse the support it needs to keep providing educational French programming services while strengthening its Acadian roots.
Bonjour tout le monde. On veut juste vous remercier d'être tous avec nous autres. Honorable Mike Kelloway, merci. Je vais représentant Sean Sansa aussi et tous les membres de notre communauté qui sont rassemblés aujourd'hui ici avec nous dans notre beau centre communautaire. C'est un plaisir de vous avoir avec nous. Et sans plus tarder, je vais passer la parole à notre cher Monsieur Mike Kelloway pour faire une annonce spéciale avec nous ce matin.
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour à tous. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. And before I begin, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the territory in which we gather. And Madame is part of the ancestral homelands of the Mi'kmaq people. I'm pleased to be here at Le Picas, as always. This is not my first time here. As you know, I've been here many times, but my staff, it's their first time here, and I think they're pretty much in awe of the facility and the people that run it, but the people that help build it. And I'm looking at many of you here today, so thank you for your hard work in the community. The island is home to many languages, but one of those languages, the founding languages, of course, is Acadian. And we were just talking about my efforts in learning French, and it's slow going at 53, but I'm committed to it. Je comprends un peu le français, so I'm understanding French a little bit more and more. And the culture, the language, it's who we are as Acadians. And I can say that with a lot of confidence because my grandmother was Acadian. And she was an Acadian woman, 5'2", full of vim and vigor. Married a gentleman by the name of Billy Kelloway, moved from Cheticamp, Cheticamp to Glace Bay. And her first language was Acadian. Back in the 30s, when she moved to Glace Bay, it was completely frowned upon to speak anything other than English. And the language was not passed on to my dad, although my dad could understand it. My dad said he really understood when Mary, his mother, would be speaking in Acadian because it's when she was allegedly cheating in cards. But what I learned from the importance of the preservation of language and the preservation of culture is that you can't take it for granted. And it needs to be passed on, not just within families, but within institutions on this very island. And I think of Le Picas, and I think of the efforts in terms of language and culture, not just taking pride in it, but to ensure that it perseveres, that it grows, because it is one of the founding languages of our region, of Atlantic Canada. French, one of the founding languages of our country, Canada. And with that in mind, our government is focused on that, laser focused on that, in fact, in terms of ensuring that we have programs that enable us to not just keep the language and keep the culture vibrant, but to invest in people and invest in organizations that do just that. So our government is committed to promoting Canada's official languages, as I mentioned. We recently unveiled the action plan for official languages for the next 5 years, which includes historic investments of about $4.1 billion, that's billion with a B, over the next 5 years. The plan is titled Protection, Promotion, Collaboration, and organizations like Picas play a crucial role in achieving those objectives. And employees and volunteers actively promote the French language and Acadian culture through a diverse array of social, educational, cultural activities, including French, and we learned that today in the short visit that I had. And then somebody wanted to see me. And we had a good chat, but it was my staff that got to see what happens in this building. So with all of that in mind, today, on behalf of the Honorable Randy Boissonneau, he's the Minister of Employment, Workforce Development, and Official Languages, I'm proud to come here to announce the funding of $354,000 to Le Picasse. So you're probably wondering, okay, like you're probably saying to yourself, Mike, unpack what that money is going to be for. So the funding announced today will help the center present social, educational, and cultural activities over the next 3 years. It will also allow Le Picasse to collaborate with partners to expand the range of services available in French in the area. This will reinforce the relevance and importance of the French language and culture in the daily life of people for all ages, in fact. Youth engagement is a key aspect of the action plan. I think we had quite a few young people that are probably out and about today outside and making their way at some point here. Yeah, we might get to see them come in and part of this announcement. This funding is going to provide a welcoming environment, a continued welcoming environment, and tailor programs to foster a stronger sense of community among young French speakers. And I'm going to close my book because I do want to speak from the heart here. The Acadian culture, and my staff and I were talking about this on the drive up, such a proud culture and a sense of community. You don't get to Le Picasse, the building, without you. Without you to the left, you in the middle, and you to the right. And to get to where you are is amazing. It's formidable. But where you're going is exciting too. And that is with funding like this, commitment that you have in this community, focusing on young people. And I have no doubt that you'll be focusing on newcomers as well, as we have people that want to come to Acadian communities and French communities from other parts of the world. And we're working on that. And that they'll be embraced by the Acadian culture, like I was. When I first decided to put my name in the mix to run for politics, one of the first communities to really be open to me and to embrace me were the Acadian communities of Cape Breton-Canso and Shetty Camp in this area here in Almadam and Pomcat. And I don't know why, but I get a sense they probably could sense my grandmother somewhere in there. And I never forget that. And that's that openness and caring, that hard work, those values of strength and resilience that historically Acadian people, those values had to come to life. And it's here in the eyes of people here today. So this money is, designed for what I mentioned, but it also gives me an opportunity to say thank you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you for all you do and all you continue to do. And be very proud of this building. Be very proud of what's in this building. Be very proud of your community. Because I can tell you, when I'm in Ottawa, I'm talking about these communities. Why? Because I think big things can happen in rural communities. I think big things can happen in Acadian communities because I see the people that I work with every day. And also Gerald Sampson, who's an MP, would slap me in the face if I didn't. But I want to say again, thank you. And thanks to all your efforts, your team's efforts, and everyone here from this community. It's a big funding announcement, but guess what? As soon as you make a funding announcement like this, I'm already thinking, what's our next announcement? What else do we need to do? From programming that focuses on culture and language, to fisheries, to pharmacare, to dental care, to programs that are going to put meals in the stomachs of young people who can't otherwise get meals because their families are economically challenged. Surprising, isn't it, that those are Acadian values, helping people, community helping community. So don't let me off the hook now. Like, if we need more money for things, Mr. Forgier, I'm looking at you. And know that I'm proud of this community, and I'm grateful for your time, and I'm grateful for your commitment to your community. Thank you.
Just a quick word from our community is a huge thank you. This funding, this financing provides so much chance for our programming to get off the ground and for us to provide some wonderful things for our community. So thank you very, very much on behalf of all of l'APICAS. Merci beaucoup.
So, Mike, you made an announcement today for the cultural sector. Do you find that the cultural sector sometimes is either forgotten or its economic and social value is kind of undervalued or forgotten about? Or
It's a great observation, and I would say yes to that. But I would also say it is so critical to community development. We talked today about the importance of maintaining and actually ensuring that culture and language thrive for many reasons. And an investment today puts us in a better footing to do that. But absolutely, but when you come to Isle Madame, or you come to Popcat, or you go to Shetty Camp, or Granatang, or St. Joseph Le Moyne, you immediately understand that in a lot of ways culture and language is tied to pride, but it's also tied to economics, and should be, in terms of these communities that are providing so much, not to their region, but also to the province, the region, and the country. Communities like in Isle Madame, for example, provide so much in terms of the fishery. And how does that translate into helping Canadians? Well, food security. What is produced here and what is caught here and produced here goes around the world, not just locally, not just regionally. So we're providing so much, but we always have to look at the building blocks in terms of culture and language as the impetus for development writ large.
thank you for watching. Please tune in again to find out what we will be talking about on The Record.